That's amazing.
Yeah, which is a great transition to the work-life balance piece. But go ahead, Mustafa, before we jump.
No, I was going. You're managing there as well, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I was offered this managing role. I mean, it was called UX manager in the beginning because they didn't really, they thought that it's like a product manager role. And so there's a product manager and a UX manager, and everybody's a community manager, and there wasn't a human managing component in the beginning. Although I challenged it and I said, okay, but if it's called a manager, then you probably need to be leading people, right? And so no, but you're leading the experience, so this is where we started with. But then eventually I managed to convince HR and my team that we need to hire more designers, and somehow I became sort of a mentor or informal lead to some designers throughout the organization, or people who are looking to transition into design roles throughout the organization. And so there was a component of mentoring more than actually managing, like evaluating them, or the designers being my direct reports. But yeah, there was a lot of leading, if you want, informal leading.
The reason why I ask is it's like there's that transition of going from being an individual contributor where you're just your sole gun for hire to manager. And sometimes we think, when you see the manager on LinkedIn, it's like, oh wow, this person's been promoted, but it's actually this person's changed jobs, because now you're not designing products, you're designing careers. So just wondering, like, do you see that? Do you see that as an evolution of just like what you're doing, or is it like an extension? I mean, how do you? Because when I was a manager for a bit, and the thing which I missed was actually doing the thing, because that's always been my thing. So how do you balance that? Like, what would that be? Work balance, or work manager balance? I don't know what you've got.
Yeah, it's a career management.
The question. Yeah, I love the question. I love this topic. I think it's really important that we start to discuss this, because many designers at some point in their career, when they become like a senior UX or UX lead, then they consider, okay, what's next for me? I have to start to manage people. This is the next step. When in fact that's wrong, because you should have the option of pursuing two distinct paths. One is the individual contributor, and then going up to, I don't know, becoming a principal UX designer. So but staying in close contact with your craft, and not necessarily becoming a manager, because maybe you're not even good at it. You're a great designer, but that doesn't make you a great team lead or manager. And so, yeah, I think that many people, I think it's not necessarily specific to the design industry. Many people are kind of forced or pushed into management roles, because that gives them the idea that they're evolving, that they've been promoted, that they now have more responsibility. And many of them fail because they were great designers, but they're not as good people managers. And yeah, I think that companies, or at least mature companies, should provide both journeys. So yeah,
that makes a ton of sense. I think the idea of being an individual contributor, where you don't force people into being a people manager, is important. So I think the variation and, like, you know, figuring out where people are going to see the most satisfaction is like the most important thing to kind of double down on. So I couldn't agree more. I think that those are some awesome points.